Welcome to the Expert's Journey podcast, where we're all about creating your path to impact. Join your hosts, Dixie Mary Carlton from Indie Experts Publishing and Mr. Web Marketing Brad Houck, as we look at how you can grow your business and influence by leveraging your knowledge for profit. Welcome back to the Expert's Journey. And in this episode, we're going to explore how AI is revolutionizing content creation and book writing and a whole pile of other things. We're going to discover how to leverage some AI tools to streamline your writing process, generate fresh ideas, and create high-quality content that resonates with your specific audience. So let's get started. How are you going, Dixie?
I'm going great, Brad. And I'm really excited about this particular topic today because it's a topic that blows some people's minds. It stresses some people out. Yep. It's got lots and lots of controversy with it. So I think what we want to do is clarify right up front, though, we're not going to be talking about advocating for writing your books using AI. So if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, they're going to talk about, how you write, 8,000 books in a year using AI, that is not what we're talking about. But
no, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, but we both use AI quite extensively in various ways that is of value and interest to people that, are listening to this. And I think we should talk about some of those, in particular, how to use AI for derivative products and content development.
Absolutely. I think, defining how you use AI as a business owner is really, really important. To me, AI is an assistant. It's there to help me. Now, I, straight up front use ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. I like having an assistant that I can ask questions of. I can throw content in and say, oh, what do you think of this? Could I change this somewhat? And it'll come back with suggestions. Now, I don't normally use the content that comes back directly. I'll often change it and adjust it and edit it and all that sort of stuff. But it can be a really great starting point. But as an assistant, when you're working on your own in your office, it's great now you can talk to the AI, which is even better.
You were talking yesterday about your conversations with AI and the whole new use the voice thing. Yeah. And I did that and I had the best conversation. It was so interesting. Tell us more about what your experience was like with that, because you had some great stories.
Absolutely. Look, it's nuts, but ChatGPT has just released the latest update and they now have voice chat built into it. So you can just press a button and you can actually tell it to act like a certain person or a certain profession. So you can say, please act like a psychologist, or please act like a marketing director or whatever. And then you can talk to it, or you can just talk to it and ask it questions. So you might have an idea for something you want to do with your business and you can say, hey, I'd like to do this, but I've got this problem and I can't it doesn't click with this thing I'm doing and I really don't understand. I know that I'm on the right track. And I mean, you are literally talking to it like that. Yeah. And then it comes back and goes, well, you make a good point, but why don't you think of this? And it, unbelievable, is a really good sounding board in some ways. Now, I know it doesn't invent information. It's only repeating what it learns, but it's taking the context of what you're putting in there and then looking back through all the things it knows. And believe me, it's read a lot of books. And can come back with really great ideas, or even just some positive feedback or fresh direction. I mean, there's what you can do with AI, but it's just being able to chat to someone else sometimes when you're on your own. It can give you so much help, I suppose,
Well, I'm one of these people who spends a lot of time at my desk talking to myself. And I used to joke about, at least when I had a dog, I didn't feel like I was talking to myself. But now I can use AI, as you've just been talking about. And I've called my voice assistant Charlie, short for ChatGPT. So Charlie and I have a conversation about, if I wrote a book about this topic, is there enough of a market for me to explore that? And what kind of research should I be thinking about doing if I was going to map out a book about A, B, or C topic? I find that really useful. And instead of just talking to myself as I'm wandering around the house making coffee, that's a really productive use of my time. And as you say, it's already read a lot of books. It understands a lot of content. And if you've also educated your own version of ChatGPT to understand you and your needs, and I think this is a really important distinction, you have to make sure that your own ChatGPT is ring-fenced in the right ways, trained and educated in the way you want it to be, so that when it comes back and gives you information, it is relevant, and not only relevant, but highly relevant and of high quality that you can use it. Because otherwise, if you haven't done those things first, then, you could be anybody and it could be doing anything.
Absolutely. And what we're talking about now really is AI agents. And this is where AI is probably heading in a large way, according to the internet. And that is, you'll create agents to do certain jobs. And then you might have a super agent over the top who can tell all those agents to do their jobs. So basically, you'll have your assistant, and then your assistant will talk to all the other agents that you've created, and they will go off and do all the things that you want doing, whether that be, booking concert tickets or, whatever. And that will come. That's where we're heading right now. But you're pulling it back a bit from the, having a chat to a real kind of live AI. There's a lot of AI tools that are just purely text or video or whatever that are available that can really help you take the content that you've got already and repurpose that throughout your business. And, I have certain ones that are my favorites. Obviously, ChatGPT we've talked about. I do find that's really useful, but then I have some specific ones. So, for example, one that I have that I use for podcasts and videos is Cast Magic. So Cast Magic goes through, it transcribes the video or audio, and then it will automatically create through a series of prompts, things like a description, time codes, Twitter, feeds, carousels of information, all sorts of things. I can also create, my own personal prompts in there of things I want it to do a certain way as well. But I don't have to ask it to do each of these things. What happens is I upload the file, it does the transcription. I then click on AI and it goes bang, 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 and creates the description, the time codes, and all I need to do is copy and paste. And it's a huge time saver. But also I'm getting kind of my social media text and all that out of there as well. So I'm also getting more than just, the YouTube description or the YouTube hashtags or whatever. So that's a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah. One of the things that I use it for a lot is something that we were talking about recently on another episode, and that is identifying what's a good call to action. So, for example, I can load content of a book or an outline of a book, and I can ask ChatGPT to identify what would be a good resource or a good checklist to create from this particular manuscript that is unique and has specific A, B, or C voice to it. And again, it's protected, it's ring-fenced. So it's not out there just pulling from everywhere, but it's actually working with that particular document and only that document. And then saying, right, give me the checklist and make it sound like it's in such and such's voice because it relates to this particular manuscript. And I'll get some great ideas. And I'll be able to then go through and use that, check it out, maybe format it and make it look pretty as a resource or a download that people can use as their call to action. And I find that really useful and a lot faster than, sitting there and going back through the book, and finding all of Brad isms, for example, or the Dixie isms, and putting those into that kind of part format, which is really useful.
Yeah, and you actually raise a really interesting point, the ring fencing thing. So what we're seeing more now is you got like on your PC, you get Copilot, or Apple has Apple Intelligence. And my understanding of those is they're actually ring fenced. So anything that you're doing in that AI stays within your own computer. So it's not going out to general learning and other people aren't going to get access to any of that information, and it's not learning from your information. So you are going to see more ring fenced sorts of tools available because big companies like Microsoft, for example, are dealing with government organizations and, they buy thousands of licenses. A lot of big businesses do not want their private information, being learnt from. So having these ring-fenced apps is going to be really, really important going forward. So, it's something to think about if you've got stuff that's really important, proprietary information. If you're going to use AI, check to see that. I mean, you can literally download a program, I can't think of the name of it now, but it'll run Llama, the AI that Facebook's developed, on your desktop. And so it just stays on your desktop. So there's lots of things you can do now to protect your information as well.
And even just in ChatGPT, and this has been available for a while now, is if you set up a specific ChatGPT room or library, or I don't know what you want to call it, you can set it up so that one, you train it, two, if you upload a document to it, that helps to train it or have it understand what you're wanting from it, and the style and the tone you can then very quickly tick, do not explore the web. So it's only going to be localized knowledge to that content. And also then you tick off, share it only with me. That helps to ring fence it really well. And that means that you've got a reasonable amount of surety. And by a reasonable amount, I mean, obviously anything's hackable, but you've got a reasonable amount of surety that you are actually working within just the framework of that document. And that's
because
you're doing great
you're working
content.
with by GPTs, and what it's doing is it's using its normal knowledge base, but then it's accessing the data in the documents you've uploaded. So it's only accessing them as a source of information. So it's not necessarily learning from them; it's just accessing them, and that does help a big way. And look, it is a great way to create something that's truly you. Being able to upload, a couple of books. I've done experiments where I've uploaded a few PDFs of different books about, say, copywriting, and then, asked it based on these books to write me some copy to sell something. You can do all this training and make it think a certain way, which is really good fun.
Well, and two, if you've got a book, let's say a manuscript that you've already developed and you've had it edited and it's really good quality information, and it's already been edited and developed to that point where you're feeling like, hey, this is great, and you want to then turn some of that content into a workshop. Well, again, and if it's ring-fenced, it's taking only the knowledge from within that particular document or two. You can have it create something that is only based on your book. But as a workshop or as a PowerPoint set of bullet points for a keynote, it's a really fast way of saying, right, give me the crux of the information about this particular topic within my book and give me 3 bullet points of what I should be focusing my keynote speech on, or give me 6 pieces of information I can then flesh out and develop as part of my workshop that goes with this book. That is really useful information and a good way to learn how to use AI in relation to content they already developed and curated, and it's already your own and it's already good quality.
Yeah. And look, to turn that on its head, actually go the other way, you might have some basic ideas. So one of the things I developed after I wrote Run Towards the Flames, my leadership book, was the 12 laws of firefighter leadership. And so I came up with these 12 rules, I suppose, or 12 laws. And it was like just a basic thing, like, look after your mates type thing. So it wasn't in depth, but it was, pretty straightforward. It made a lot of sense. And if you applied them in a business, it worked well. But so then I took that in and I said, okay, I really need to expand on this. And so then I used ChatGPT to go the other way, to actually go out to the web, look at stuff on leadership, and then bring me back some bullet points about that topic in, say, business language, that sort of thing, rather than my language. And so you can expand out from a small idea, even though it is your own content. And what I eventually did with that is I took the 12 laws, and then I decided I wanted to create a quiz, which I've mentioned previously in one of our episodes. And I said, okay, I've created these 12 laws. I want 4 questions about each law. So it wrote me 4 questions about each law that I could ask someone. And then I said, okay, now I want to, give them a weight, and then I want to mix them up. So it mixed them all up. But I said, okay, now I want you to put the number the law that they relate to at the end, so that I can see like it's going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the page, but it's actually 4, 6, 5, 3, 2, relative to the laws, so that I could then do calculations at the end and all this sort of stuff. But It was really great to be able to kind of extrapolate out from a basic idea to create this quiz, and it really turned out well. So.
Well, one of the things that you and I did with Run Towards the Flames was you had some fantastic case studies that talked about things like, and this happened, and then I'm just paraphrasing briefly, this was happening. I talked to the commanding officer and he was saying this and blah, 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 in terms of this is what happened. This is the description of the event. So I put a couple of those into ChatGPT and I said, take this case study and turn it into a dialogue-based case study, which is a more engaging story. And basically took exactly the same information, but just put it into a dialogue-based set of content. And it was absolutely brilliant. And I think we've done it 3 times in that book. And if anyone wants to see exactly how you can do that sort of thing with ChatGPT, that's a great example of it. And just makes the whole content or the whole concept of doing case studies more interesting. And I loved that about it.
And it made it just a little bit more readable, even though it was my story, my words, just by the framing of how the structure came out. It actually works really well. And of course, Run Towards the Flames is available on Amazon if you are interested in reading it. It's a great book about dealing with change. But yeah, look, there's just so many applications for AI. And I think we underestimate what we can do with it. And like every day I run a Facebook group, marketing with ChatGPT and AI, and I put up, at least once a week or twice a week, new things that are coming through, new tools and all that. And there's so many. I mean, there was one this week that I put up that was just, you can change the color of your clothing. So, if you're wearing a red shirt, you can make it blue. Now, you can do that in Photoshop. You can do that with tools, but just to be able to drop it up there and change the color of your shirt for, for example, on an e-commerce cart to show that it comes in 7 colors or whatever, it's just so easy. And, another tool that I love to use is opus.pro, which is the one that will take the video like we're looking at the moment, and it will cut us a pile of vertical videos, and I can set the length. So under 30 seconds for reels, or longer if I want, long ones, and I can have it so it's vertical, so you're above me and I'm below you, or so that, it's only you, then only me, or whatever. But the AI actually goes through and it pulls out all the best bits. A lot of people do use Opus now. It's quite popular, but the one thing I really love about it is it actually ranks it based on virility. You kind of get A, B, based on, is it interesting? Is it whatever? So, that's another tool that I use on a regular basis just to leverage some time rather than having to manually edit everything.
There's a couple of things. There are so many programs that are now so AI related that when people start talking about, I couldn't use AI, I don't want to be cheating. Well, Grammarly is a great example of, technically, Grammarly is AI, right? So if we're using things like that already, if we're using things like Siri and, voice recognition and, all of the ways that we make our lives easier, well, at the end of the day, that is all a form of AI. So I think people need to stop worrying about whether we are using AI and cheating, but actually look at how you can use AI ethically and responsibly and actually make your work significantly better improved, but also save yourself some time in ways that doesn't compromise the quality of what you do. I think that's an important distinction to make.
Absolutely. And it's everywhere. The first time I saw it in PowerPoint, that kind of blew me away where, you've done a slide and then suddenly it says, oh, by the way, here's some designs you might like. And it shows some designs. You go, oh, actually, that one's a heck of a lot better than mine. So change that,
Yeah.
Like it's just really useful where it's being used. I'm a huge fan of canva.com. And, some of their integration of AI has been really exceptional. Some of it, I don't know, it's not for me, but that's fine. It might be for you. But I like the fact that they're bringing it in. They're giving you the option, to pull the background out or to release yourself from the background and fill in the background behind you. That blew me away the first time. It pulled me out of the picture, then filled in the hole. And then I was able to move myself to a different position on the picture and the rest of the curtain was still there. I was like, whoa, But that's AI that does that stuff. That's not, it's there, it's everywhere. And sometimes you don't know it's there.
But yeah, you don't always know that it's there. And the thing that most people need to remember as well is that AI is a content development tool, cannot write your stories for you. You are the only one who can actually write your own stories. You can only write your own case studies. It can't create that sort of stuff for you. So if you are using AI, then the responsibility to make sure that your content has your own content in it. And that's why telling stories is so important. And if you're going to use it for telling stories, then again, go back in and humanize whatever it comes up with. I'm about to do a really interesting project where a book that I wrote a couple of years ago called Authority Island is a parable about 3 different authors' types of experiences in writing and producing their book. A lot of people listening to this will be aware of that. And so I've already developed the characters and the settings, etc. What I want to now get AI to do is to take that and take those characters and give me some outlines for what the next part of that journey would be for a follow-up book. And say, so what are these 3 characters likely to experience next? How can I make that into a compelling story that follows on the same flavor? And that's what I'm about to do with AI. And I'm going to be really interested to see how far I can take that. I will still have to write the content myself, but I want to use it for really developing the outline and the formula, I guess, for a series. So that will be an interesting exercise.
Yeah, there's so much, you can do with it. As you said, there's something I wouldn't have even thought about. But, it's just, there's so much you can do. And I think the key thing for me is how you use it. Are you using it just to produce mass content for the sake of producing mass content? Or are you using it to produce good content or to make good content better by using the AI to pick the best bits out and things like that?
Yeah.
I often see, in my world, I started out in the search engine optimization world. And one of the key things to SEO is content creation, blog posts, so to speak, or as we refer to them now, articles. But, I see it every day where people are using AI within SEO to create content. But is the content any good? Is a real key question you need to ask yourself. Yes, you can create content that might rank, but when someone reads it, is it actually all right, or is it just more of the same, Well, and then you talk about bringing in the stories, and you're right. That is the element you cannot.
Yeah.
You can create stories. Yes. Okay. AI can write stories, but it can't write about your experiences because it hasn't had them. Yeah, only you can tell those. So yes, might be able to enhance the structure of it or whatever, but and it can't be replaced. And that's key here.
And I think readers are becoming so much more discerning. And the more, I read somewhere the other day that some publishing company wants to write, 8,000 new books a year using AI. And my first thought when I saw that headline was, oh my God, how many people are going to read books that are so AI created that, because that's the only way that could possibly, work is it's only AI created and with a minimum amount of humanizing. Well, how much are people going to want to read those kind of books? And I think the more people are exposed to low quality AI driven content, the more discerning we become about what will engage us and whether or not it's actually quality enough to teach us or entertain us. So I think that there's going to be a really big shift as we see more and more of that. And interesting to note that, companies like Amazon and Ingram Spark will make you check a box now to say, how is this AI generated content? And, they'll treat it differently. I'm not sure exactly how that works yet, but they will treat it differently if it is AI. And I know from some of the forums there have been some issues with people being able to upload things if they have been ticked off as being AI generated. So we have to be mindful of still telling stories, still being human beings and humanizing our content, but using AI in such a way that it really enhances what we do as experts, not supposed to replace us.
Yeah, and time saving is a big one, I think, from my perspective. Using AI to save time effectively is the biggest one for me. So I've tried hundreds of AI tools, but in the end, there's only half a dozen that I keep because they save me time and they do a really good job, and they've been around a little while now, so they're actually improving what they do as well. So they're learning from what they've done in the past and what people want. And well, actually, I want to be able to put it here, here, and here, not just there, that sort of stuff. So, I think in the book world, there's going to be this flood of AI stuff. But then when you think about most of that will be nonfiction content, it'll be relative quality. I mean, one example I was looking at was a book on, decluttering. And yeah, look, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's a limit to how many things you can say about decluttering. It's pretty simple. There's so many systems. They all basically are built on the same system. Everybody has their spin and their stories on top of that. And that's how the world's always going to put out those sorts of books. You can go to any library and pull out, especially in the old days when there was only libraries, but, you could pull out 7 books on volcanoes. And they all said the same stuff, but they had different pictures, and one might have been more in depth about magma and the next one might have been more in depth about lava or whatever. But, there were 7 books on the same thing. So you're always going to have an element of that. But I think, as you said, as creators and as, experts, we need to take the tools that are available to us, decide what's going to help us, help our audience and, progress our business, and pick and choose and go back and review the stuff you're putting up. Make sure that it actually meets the standards of you, not just, it's good enough, get it out the door. Do take a minute just to revise stuff. Don't just go, give me an article and post it automatically. No.
Well, it's about your brand. And, I think, let's look at it this way, from the perspective of the speaking industry. You're either going to put something out that is stand behind a lectern and, death by PowerPoint, versus someone who is going to gets on stage, has the energy, tells the stories, and gets people on their feet with a standing ovation at the end of it. That's the difference. AI is going to, AI generated content that doesn't have what we've talked about is going to be akin to stand behind a lectern and, death by PowerPoint with bullet points. Versus
Absolutely.
being a really good, high quality professional presenter. That's the AI difference.
Yeah, because there is tools, as you well know already, that can duplicate your voice, can make a video avatar of you that talks and walks, and you can just upload text and it will stand there and speak it as you, which is great. And I get that people think that that's fantastic. But to be honest, half the time it takes longer to write the damn scripts than to stand there in front of the camera and actually record yourself saying it. It's nuts. I get it from like a training perspective where you use an AI presenter and you put content in and it creates, some training for someone in the business to watch. I don't think it's good training. I think they might as well have just read it, just watching someone speak. It's just because that's how you do it. I don't think that's an excuse. And I know these tools will grow and they will get better, and there is definitely applications for them. I'm not saying that at all. But I truly believe that sometimes, and you really have to look at this with technology always, sometimes it's quicker just to do it with a pencil than it is to sit down and open a computer. And it's the same with AI. Sometimes it's easier just to open your camera, hold it up in front of you and go, blah, 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 stop. Than to flop around with a pile of AI to get something out that's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pay an editor to cut it for you instead of the AI.
Yeah. Another great
AI is
conversation.
Great, so,
Another great conversation, Brad. And it's been a pleasure talking with you today. And it'll be interesting to see what we're talking about in relation to AI in another year or so from now, because it is growing so fast. But I think we've touched on some great points today. So I hope our listeners have really enjoyed this conversation. And if you have enjoyed it, please share it or subscribe or tell your best friend to subscribe and, come back for some more, because we're really enjoying the expert's journey and unpacking it and all the ways that it can help everyone in the professional experts industry.
Absolutely. Look, please share this with other people. It's the only way we're going to grow. And we just want to help as many people as possible. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode and catch you.
See you soon, Brad.